Hey, welcome. We're just setting up for our live stream here. So, those who just joined early, great. So, I'm Dr. Mike. I'm closing up my Waukesha clinic, which also was the podcast studio. You can see other videos where we're doing podcasts around the corner. But here I would pretty much do involving my therapy and what I'm calling hypnosis, which is a more innovative, collaborative, uh, really, it's an integrative part of NLP, advanced hypnosis, CBD, DBT, and just components that help awaken consciousness, which is my work. So the number one thing I have, no matter if I'm helping someone today, stopsmoking.com, or they're having other issues like imposter syndrome, the number one thing that we got to do first, which I'm talking about today, is relax. And that's what you'll see. So that's our intro. Again, I'm Dr. Mike. My website is drmike.org. And welcome today. We're going to talk about the new 3 R's. Remember reading, writing, and arithmetic? Well, today I'm doing this on my PC in case you want to use my cell. Some kind of message. So this weekend I'm packing up. And so I've got to get through my phase here to get into the 3 R's, the new 3 R's, which are rest, relaxation, and recreation. So it's enjoyment, fun, play. Let's talk about the issue that many people have, particularly if you're a therapist, counselor, coach, to get people to relax a little bit. Because there's sort of, and I suffer from this too, the embellishment or the mass trance.com of society, where we're all sort of hyper edged and ledged. We're geared towards, wanting to accomplish and be productive. So we're busy, busy, busy. And yet the priorities aren't straight, right? Because I talk to most people and say, well, how are you relaxing? Well, I spent 3 hours binge watching Netflix. It's like, well, what are you watching? Garbage in, garbage out. So, okay, whatever you want to do to relax, what's your recreation like? How are you sleeping at night? So rest is really important. And we're going to talk about this in a very serious manner so that we can be as productive as we can be, alive as we can be, and yet in a modality to where we're not unnecessarily stressed. A little bit, okay, because it's a driver, right? We have challenges, problems to solve, right? So this is an opportunity to become more attuned to our potential and being a bit more ideally in state and being able to do so in a cool, calm, and considerate manner. It's going to help you relax, right? Also collective, right? So cool, calm, collective, considerate. This is what the work is about. drmike.org. So I talk about self-liberation, helping people get out of their stuck stories, but also helping them recognize their true self, awakening eye awareness versus any other type of disattraction. We want to sort of get to a point where things are more heartfelt, you're centered, and again, you are productive and yet not stressed. So we can come again to a point where we can just sort of, if you need to kick it back and relax, but otherwise, we're going to make it happen. All right, so you can find out more about my work at helpnosis.org. So it's helpnosis.org. We're going to go deep into some serious sleep therapy, but the first thing is to get your client, and for yourself as well, if you're a stress practitioner, coach, therapist, to the point where really this becomes a topic in another area that you can help your clients with. So we're going to talk about relaxation, and that's going to be our foundational point. Then we're going to get into sleep. And again, I'll have this at the office. Now, will I retail this for $3? No, that's my wholesale price. That might be more the price that I'll offer. Or this can be a component into a course or where I'm going to coach a group or train other therapists. So that's a key element to begin with. So I'll have these available if I'm doing a live session. This is massager. So, because you want to get your client to relax when they first come in, and that's the key thing, particularly if they're not familiar with hypnosis or my version of NLP, and I call fast NLP and hypnosis, my variation. There's a few ways to do that. You got to sort of first get them to do the paperwork, right? Now, they might have done that before coming in. You had a pre-screened interview. You're going to be sitting down one-to-one, face-to-face, shoulder-to-shoulder, knee-to-knee. At the very least, you're going to have some communication, right? Because what they're going to be filling out in their form is the reason why they're coming to see you, or your questionnaire. You could have an intake survey as well as when they're done, and you want to sort of see where they're at. And The number one thing I look at is how often they're shifting mood and where their stress level is. Because I can help them in the here and now, and there might be deeper issues that, unless I become a bit more aware of what it is that they're concerned with and what would be leading underlying indicators. So some of this definitely will be subconscious, but you'll be able to observe it a number of ways. So it's posture, their breathing, their face, where their contours, and where they're expressing themselves, and how they're communicating. Right? We use the cave model, KAVE. So K is kinesthetically, again, looking at their posture and everything and how they're positioned. That's going to tell you a lot. Now, it could just, again, be in the moment because they're excited to see you, or they're nervous because they don't know what to expect, or they've got a lot to tell you if they're going to go into session. So the kinesthetic element is to look at their physiology and sort of get a sense of where they're at an intuitive level, which is a gut feeling for you and for them, and what the vibe is that you can now explore because you're listening to themselves, then your client talk. And from a verbal level, or we talk audibly, right, auditory, is what are they saying that is sounding things out that's going to give you an indication as well. So tonality and what they're emphasizing, the keywords they're using. And then you can kind of get the scope of what you're seeing, also about what they're visualizing. And so if there's a concern, whether it's worry or other issues I describe as the VLAG, VLAG, where there's vanity, anger, lust, attachment, and greed sort of associated into this component that you're recognizing. Well, depending on your skill level and your ability to work with your patients or clients, having that sense of first to what level they're grounded at, whether they're doing earthing or getting proper rest, these are key indicators to know. Are they working out? What's their diet like? Because these could be contributing factors, or at least on the edge to where it's adding more stress, where there's a deficiency of sleep or hydration. These are important things. So in a future talk, we'll go over that, and we could have a checklist that you can give your clients, and we need to have a special session on that. Otherwise, you could sort of Google or brainstorm and come up with ideas for yourself of things that you want to check in. And someone who's able to sort of read someone on some level, you want to explore it a little bit, not get lost into your own conclusion. You want to make sure it makes sense for your client. But 3 hours, and the 3 hours are the key thing, right? So make sure that they are able to relax, particularly in the session with you, so they can clear away whatever thought processes, I call them RTPs, repeated thought patterns, so you can have a clearing and an ability. So there's an emptiness sense for them to be able to feel comfortable in relating to you, and for them to sort of have that rapport level where they're going to get the complete, total benefit of your skills. Okay, so I say that you and I have, as a side business, assuming that you are a therapist or coach and you have an office or at least a website or something that you have presence, I'll often go out to events like even farmers markets and set up a table or have a booth. And I'll have a few products if they're allowed to be sold there. I always make sure they're checked in because sometimes it's just local produce or whatever. But if they say, no, you're a therapist, yeah, you can come in. So basic stuff like this is DHEA. So some people recognize, hey, I need some of that. But basically something that's tuned into mood and stress. Now, I have a whole this back shelf where I have vitamins and a different variety. But what I want to do here is to sort of emphasize that if someone's dealing with something, at the very least, I can offer them a relaxation gummy. And yes, I have those. Or if you're familiar with Bach flower remedies, this is chewable gum, which has the essence of it in there. Or you can, if they're bringing in a bottle of water or something like that, you can add droplets. Of course, you're informing them, letting them know what this is, and they're okay with it, and telling them everything is quite natural. We're not doing anything, particularly for my clients that want to quit smoking. Say, we're not doing anything that's nicotine replacement with more nicotine. We're letting it go. And so there's often stress associated with that as number one reason why perhaps they're smoking, but also thinking that, oh my God, I got to quit. What am I going to do? So there are things and techniques that are available. Breathing exercises to also just uh, finger apparatus, and that, if related to smoking, I have a whole other thing because some people are more in texture based, tactile, and so just having something, whether and I have different devices and stuff like that. I wasn't planning to get into that, but things like that will be sort of helpful. So you could have a squeeze ball or something like that present if someone's sitting in your session with you while they're talking. You can also observe and say, just get it out, make sure you're good. Particularly when they're talking about something that's sort of like, oh, that person, right? So I joke around a bit, but let's get serious. So what I have in my hand right now, and then we'll get into showing you some other great supplements, is when we get to the sleep component, to make sleep productive. Now, you could have subliminals playing, or you could do a hypnosis session that's recorded for them. And there could be a range of subjects in that regard, but help them ease into sleep, but also it's therapeutic. So this would be a seaweed. It's a firming mask, face mask. Also, this is a lymphatic cleanse. This is a foot pad, actually, that goes in the bottom of the foot and supposedly helps detox people. So in my world, if they're coming off of drugs or they've been taking medications for a while, they've had dealt with a situation, or most of the time vaping or smoking, whatever, that's going to help. So I get them in the mindset that they're now past, they're beyond that. That was yesterday, whatever the complaint was, whatever the addiction was, the habit, it's over, and now it's associated with something new. It's a new habit pattern. It's going to enhance sleep. I want my clients to rest, to have good rest, because that's going to help detox. But also, they're going to feel they're waking up in the morning, they had good sleep, they had a good session with me, and these are the things I'm going to offer them. So if someone's dealing with certain levels of stress, whether they get on the rescue plan, and taking some sort of you know everybody's hesitant to say mood enhancer, because some very, very basic things that you can offer someone, like herbal tea and other types of supplements, which we'll talk about right now. But again, I would recommend some kind of mood support. If you're not at least selling vitamins like vitamin C or daily supplement, you want to have things that are going to be helpful in that regard. So what do I have to show you? So if talking about herbal teas, this is very popular. Celestial tea has a couple different strengths of this. Sleepy time tea, the cute little bear by the fireplace nodding off. Well, that's a natural, easy thing for them to do. And if they're going through a process with you, so whether you're a therapist doing massage or a life coach or a psychotherapist, you want to think about it afterward. They're going to leave feeling great. But you don't want that stress built up at night. You want to have them have a great night to rest, so that day associated with you. And when they wake up in the morning, sort of like something was an element that enhanced the experience that you helped them have, right? In the way that you experience. So the theme is always going to be to relax. So I'll be giving them some kind of gift package. This is always around me on the wall, posters and sort of that type of thing. And I give them gift bags. That's a whole other session to talk about. But they leave with having been rewarded, having come see me. And there'll be examples of some supplements and things that they could use. Maybe if you're doing hypnosis, it'll be either a repeat of the session that we just did, so they can continue, or something of a modification that's going to help them. And more or less, it's going to be something that they could rest at night. So that might be a USB, or send them and email them a link that they can listen or download MP3. Otherwise, I will make for sale either DVDs or MP3 CDs. People still buy them. I have them in stock because I do workshops and people want to have something physical to walk away with. So these are quite nice. Now, in my office, this is just off to the side, I have my little desk medicine cabinet, as you could say, which is quite nice. I'll take that show on the road because I can have that at my desk or my booth, wherever I'm at a table. And don't forget, I got a whole bunch of stuff in the back. But really quick, though, just to share some of the brands really quick. These are not recommendations per se. They're just what I have in stock at the time and what's available if someone's interested. Sometimes I recognize a brand or they do that. My prices will be very competitive. However, because they're coming to the office and it's part of, if they buy a package, let's say, of sessions with me, I might throw that in or add that to the gift bag. Not necessary. These things can often be side sales, not an upsell. But it's sort of meeting with the client and say, hey, I notice you're sniffling. Are you taking vitamin C? Yes, no. If they're not, and hopefully they're being honest, or, they want to take vitamin C, they understand the benefits of it, I have it for sale. And it's a good brand, chewable and also a high dosage, a 2,000 milligram brand. And then different things like GABA, Calm Mind. If they're not taking any kind of supplement and something, you do a disservice by at least not offering it to them. And this includes, essential oils. This is a calming essential oil. Now, this is a package of 3. So because I also sell to other therapists, that's how I package like that already. But even because I showed you the other massager, I'll have different types of things like that are available. And $10 or whatever. This might be a couple bucks. Again, it's just showing something that's going to be for sale that's going to enhance value. And I'm sometimes sample them. If they're coming in and I kind of notice that they're tense, these are things really quick you want to consider and look at. If someone's coming in and they're still wearing the traditional 9 to 5 office tie and they're like that, get them to loosen the tie or the collar, number one. Take off any bands or wristwatch. They shouldn't be looking at the time in the session with you anyway. And you can put it in something like this, which is a radiation protector, but it's out of the way. So this in particular would be the cell phone, can go in here. Make sure it's in airplane mode or turned off, better yet. And so that goes in there and that sits on the side. That has an immediate relaxation effect. And of course, you are mirror and matching doing NLP, which you're helping your client experience relaxation just because you're such a great therapist and working with them. All right. And then, of course, I make my own brews. You can check out my work at igoresearch.com, and then I'll be offering different sessions. But it's just herbal blends and stuff like that people appreciate. Okay. Now, other stuff you might want to offer before we get into the part 2, which will be the sleep therapy, is just you might have some products that they just see and they want to buy. Again, this is aromatherapy based, but this is shower, and this is body lotion. And again, that's not my main sale, man, right? But it is something that, again, if they're attracted to it, they get. And I'll also herbal drinks. I have pH water. I encourage them to bring their own water, of course. And I have metal bottles and stuff like that, or glass bottles that have crystals in it if they want to do that route. But I'll sell this as a can called True, which is called Dream, cherry berry flavored. And again, not necessarily promoting it or giving testimonial or endorsing. I have to say, though, that clients that have tried it have come back and bought a case from me. I have a lot. I was on this auto shipment for a while, and so 1 or 2 sales of this is okay per day, and then you come back for more, then you can get the case deal. But again, before evening, rather than drinking a beer, this might be something that might be more worthwhile. And other things I'll have on the rack that they can look at. This is this helps relieve anxiety. Excuse me, I'm off camera there. And that's basically the supplements. This is only 4 tablets, but it's effective, and people come back and go, I want more. But then I would sell them into the bottle supplements that I was showing you before, and like a daily stress support system. And there are a lot of brands out there. So whatever you can get on sale or wholesale, and you have some interest in your clientele, at least let them know that they have that as an offering. So now I think I pretty much covered that. Let's get more into the sleep products, and then I'll have a whole other session that really goes into how you can use this as a therapy. So apologies, this runs a bit longer, but it's such an important thing. Again, our goal is to get the clients to relax, number one, in session with you, but if they can have more of that as a productive lifestyle, so they are cool, calm, and collected, and they are conscious, well, they're going to have less stress, worries, and anxiety. And I would think that is part of your role, right? The duty that you make sure that they're good. And sleep is so important. How are they sleeping at night? And again, you might ask that a couple times, and things that might be telltale signs like rings under the eye or dark, or they're yawning a lot, or they're just, how was your day? And if it's like this day is like every other day and they're just like not having the energy, well then, we have different supplements for that. Okay, I got to step up for that. Whole different selections that people might offer energy or some kind of caffeine or related type, more natural energy drink. It's not overstimulated. You're not too overdosed on the guarana. But they're sort of feeling like they're with it, and you help them attain that. It has to start with getting a good night's rest. So it's really important that we zone in on that. So again, from 3 to 9. And you could offer this as a course. Not this particular book, obviously, unless you work with the authors, but that's possible. So in my gift bags, I usually will give something like this. This is this is more homeopathic, but it's got melatonin in it and herbs. I'm cautious about melatonin because, number one, we're not prescribing anything. And the first time I tried melatonin was gifted to me at a retreat by a medical doctor who's also a naturopath and big leader in Vedic medicine. So the thing was, though, I had no problems with sleep. But I took that melatonin, it threw me off because my body was naturally producing it, and it affected it, whether it was overdosing it or just reacting to it. It didn't work for me. So I'm cautious about prescribing anything other than meditation, contemplation, maybe a little bit of yoga, stretching, if that's something that they're into, as a routine, whether it be in the morning or going to sleep, journaling, that type of thing. And they would have some kind of wind down period. Remember, low blue screen. And if we get really deep into this, there are TMJ, or JAWS, or places like universities that do sleep labs or therapy. So you could recommend that. However, I'm just recommending that you can also get certified or get some training in sleep counseling. And there is an area of sleep psychology which focuses on diagnosing and treating unhealthy sleep patterns and habits. And so this will use techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and other relaxation exercises that are going to enhance the relaxation and go into sleep, whether they're quieting different parts of the mind or going to their own self-hypnosis session where they're relaxing different parts of their body. The whole goal is to relax, and this becomes a really easy, doable exercise that's going to help improve sleep and these outcomes. Now, if people are dealing with other issues, then of course you want to have their doctor make any recommendations as far as medication. But I don't, uh, even stuff you can get over the counter, anything that's not natural, I don't necessarily support. And again, I'm not necessarily endorsing anything other than having a few products available that are natural. And I do look at the ingredients and kind of go, well, understanding what I do know about some stuff that shouldn't be in there, well, then I'm not going to have it for sale, much less recommend it. So some products like the sleep aid has a little bit of melatonin in it. It's not much. Other thing I don't quite like about it, it's the last ingredient in it, but there is sucralose. A little bit of controversy about sucralose, but look, there's only 8 tablets. I'm only, particularly for the people I'm helping to get off an addiction, it's only 2 or 3 nights where I'm having them wear earplugs, maybe an eye mask, really making sure that the room is darkened. If they're not using the eye mask, no blue light or computers before sleep, and just taking this for the first couple nights after we've done the treatment. And for me, the HALT method is part of the work that I do. And you can check out haltmethod.com, but that's particularly more for smoking. I'm innovating it more so people, because a lot of people want to come and see me, but either it's not convenient to fly across the world. So we're going to make this online, but basically the HALT, we want to make sure that the triggers for hunger, anger, loneliness, and tired are not causing stress, or for what I call the RTPs, repeated thought patterns, are causing your clients to sort of stress out and sort of counter the work that you're doing. And again, there are other enhancer type things that I've seen people use, whether, if they've done a good job, just gifting them something, which could be a necklace, pendant. I don't want to get too far out in the new age, the realm. But they can consider other things to where they might add into their hydration, like apple cider vinegar, vitamin drinks, supplements that are going to enhance. Excuse me, that wasn't supposed to happen. Of course, I made a mess now. But basically, and again, not recommending, but this is crystallized lemon. That's all it is. And it's great for water, tea, and recipes. Put it into the water bottle. Um, it, it helps a bit with hydration because the absorbency and the pH is really important to have a little bit of a pH element in the water. But also, if it's more encouraging for them to drink more, at least for my sessions and afterwards, I want them to relax and make sure they're hydrated. So that can be something that can be added in. Otherwise, they can do something like these, which I also sell. So this is a bit more concentrated than just this is just a casual drink. This is something they are going to take before they go to sleep. This is a sleep brand. This is a True Dream, and this is what's called Overachieve. Again, I wish I could give you personal testimony, but if I'm sleeping good, I won't mess with it. But on the occasion where because I'm traveling and I want to make sure I'm not having jet lag, I might experiment with something. I can tell you that they do work. And if you're waking up in the middle of the night, depending if it's not too late, like 3 or 4 in the morning, like if it's just midnight, 1 or 2, and you're ready, had fallen asleep, but you don't think you're going back to sleep, then you could take these sleep shots. You could just drink it. Now, there's other things that I'm going to show you that are just as effective, but these will work. And there is something about, like, you're drinking it down and you're not having to swallow. You could swallow pills if, like, you're not wanting to overdo anything, um, one of these things I'm talking about ought to do it. And if you're someone who's into self hypnosis, that's probably all that you need. But particularly just making sure that um, you're training yourself, particularly to use your bedroom only for sleep. And this is what's called stimulus control therapy, and that involves training your client, uh, and so that the bedroom is just used for the bedroom, which is sleep, sex, and obviously if the closet's in the bedroom, they're changing clothes, or you know, there might be a calming area where they have a relaxed chair or a couple's couch. That really probably be in the other room, but if they're just sitting there for that purpose because it's more intimate, that's fine. The key with stimulus control therapy is maintaining consistent sleep and wake up times. Now, I don't use an alarm because I just tend to wake up naturally, and for some strange reason, I wake up on the hour pretty much all the time. And it's just my thing. However, if somebody needs a gentle alarm, like you can buy these lights now that are full spectrum, and they help with like a sunrise in the room, which is more a natural, coherent way of waking up. Otherwise, might be some music or the news if necessary, but where you're hitting the alarm, let's try to avoid that. Sleep restriction therapy is another process that reduces the time you spend in bed awake, and this is controversial in some part because in some situations people are eliminating naps and they're staying up longer than usual. And it's been proven though, uh, in tests and studies that sleep restriction therapy, like having a regular bedtime but maybe staying up later, can build a stronger association between bed and sleep. So when you go to bed, you are naturally falling asleep faster. Now, depending on your interest in time and part of the world that you're living in, um, some people like to have naps, particularly like siesta, right, at noon or whatever. And depending on your age and your routine, well, that's something to consider. And just keep it as you can, to schedule. And if it has to be a measured period of time because you have appointments or you need to be fresh for a meeting that's coming up, to inform your phone, although you're not going to be looking at your phone while resting, to tell you or set up some kind of natural alarm or have someone wake you up, remind you in that way. Now, again, unless you're specially trained, we're not treating sleep disorders. We're just trying to be effective for, the occasional insomnia. Some people are experiencing a restless leg syndrome or sleep apnea that's causing, because they're snoring so loud the partner can't sleep, and or narcolepsy or other types of issues that are going on. You want to recommend them to a professional. But just to help, or just to get your client to help relax and sort of have more of an enjoyment process of winding down in the evening, you can help them with that routine, particularly if you're a life coach. And then, of course, for you therapists, we need to look at managing mental health conditions that are affecting with sleep, like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, PTSD, as sleep problems can exacerbate these conditions, right? So anyway, these are basic things that we want to look at. Um, I've got a wide range of supplements depending on what I have in stock. I make them available. I do not force the sale. However, in the gift bag, there might be something that I see that would be beneficial or they've expressed interest in, but I'm not sure it's a good fit or they really need it. I'll give them a sample of it if I'm able to do that. And my favorite thing of sampling is the relaxation gummies. And I only do that again if they're really stressed or coming into the office, you can kind of see the tension. And of course, we'll do some breathing exercises. They'll be really clear about what it is that they're seeing me for that day. It's not so easy if we're doing it through Zoom. It's an online thing, or in a group. Although I will do a group relaxation exercise to sort of get everyone into that. And you can check out coachgroups.com, and that's going to be a future training that you'll get certification in. Totally based on group theory. You'll be able to use it for your group practice, whether you're a coach or a therapist. It's like this is the exact way to relate, where people are going to get the most value out of the relationship and interacting and participating. And they're going to have these epiphanies, and you're going to be able to move the dial for them. And it's going to be incredibly profitable for you versus just the one-on-one, unless you have those really highfalutin, high-paying clients. All right, well, so I'm drmike.org. I consider myself more sort of a social critic more than anything. However, I've developed this iGo therapy that's been really great as a form of narrative therapy that helps people disassociate from the false self-identity, false consciousness. So I encourage you to check that out, igoresearch.com, igoresearch.com. And again, my website is drmike.org. So another talk we should talk about in the future is about prions, which is prions.com, which is my writing about how we can help uplift whatever this energy sucking or entity type things that are causing people to kind of rift, and that will help them relax quite a bit. And we'll probably do a whole session on that, maybe a training that could be a course or an offering that you could offer your clients. So I hope you'll stick with me and check it out. Introduce yourself if we don't know each other yet. I'm drmike.org. Thank you.